We are back on the Morning Brew with Friends with Roger Paul, and you're the Deputy Manager for Bernalillo County's Public Works Division. You guys have so much stuff going on. I'm mind blown. We were just going through some of the photos.
We do.
How many different projects do you guys have to keep track of at one time?
We probably have 40 to 50 projects in progress at any time, either in design or construction or closeout.
That is huge. Well, you've been in charge of some of the major ones, the Isleta one, Eubank Boulevard. A lot of the projects we really think of today as being some of the bigger ones in Bernalillo County.
A lot of the more visible projects would be the ones that you mentioned. Road projects are very visible because people are driving on them when we're done.
Yeah.
That's right. We do a lot of projects where we put storm drainage in and utilities, and that's under the ground and isn't quite as visible.
Right, right. Until you turn on the water and it doesn't show up, right?
Right.
Well, you guys have some great stuff coming up right now. We were looking at some of the photos a second ago of, I guess it's Sunset out in the valley.
This is the second phase of a project on Sunset Gardens. This is the phase 2 project. We reconstructed the project a couple of years ago on the section that was over by Atrisco. This section is going over toward Bridge. And part of this project also did a major storm drainage improvement to help with the floodplain and nuisance ponding that's in that area. The Valle de Bosque Park, which we developed several years ago.
That's such a beautiful state park. Well, I guess it's a national wildlife refuge, am I right?
Well, no, the Valle de Bosque is a county park that we've developed several years ago. And we've taken the back part of that and created a drainage pond that we're draining the neighborhood into that pond before it is released out to the river.
Well, which one am I thinking of? It's on South Broadway, or South 2nd?
That's Valle de Oro,
Valle de Oro.
The National Wildlife Refuge.
Which is beautiful. And that was one that came from county land, am I right?
Well, the county put up the initial $5 million to start the acquisition process, and it was it used to be a farm in the South Valley, and it's being turned into a National Wildlife Refuge. All the property's now been purchased, and we actually have a project to start improving 2nd Street so that it's a good entrance to the refuge.
Oh, that'll be good.
And they'll be starting construction probably in a couple of years.
Very cool, because I read there's going to be bike lanes out there.
Yes.
So can I ride my bicycle all the way from like the downtown bike path all the way out there?
Today you cannot, but by the time the refuge opens, we'll have bike paths, several different ways to get down there by biking or other non-vehicular modes.
Because that's the last, I want to say the last refuge of basically open space left, right? There really isn't much of that old farmland left in the valley.
Well, that was probably one of the largest remaining pieces in the South Valley.
Continuous large parcels anyway.
And the federal government, with help of us and lots of other entities, bought the land, and they're now developing it as part of their urban refuge system. This is the first one in the Southwest, actually.
Is it really?
Yes.
That's cool. Well, I think it's really important to save those green spaces.
Yes.
You know, and the counties, you guys are really big on that at Public Works, right?
We have lots of spaces. We also like to take our drainage ponds and not just have a hole in the ground. We like to reconfigure them to be parks and other uses.
Right, like there's several of them that we use for kickball practice on my kickball team.
Okay.
Because they're great green fields and they're beautiful. And then just when it rains, they fill up with water.
That's right.
It keeps all the neighborhoods from flooding.
Yep.
So what's your favorite new project you're working on right now?
Well, I think one of the most exciting projects that we have going is one we've just started the design process, is our Bridge Boulevard reconstruction project. We are rebuilding Bridge from New Coors all the way to the river.
Oh, wow.
That's
going to be a long, that's everything, is that everything in the blue and red and yellow and green?
Yes.
And it's huge.
And we're right now working on the environmental assessment because we have to go through federal clearance through the NEPA process because it's got federal money in it. And the first project that we'll be building is the blue section, and that's just started design, and probably be about a year and a half before we'd actually start construction.
When I hear road project, I think orange barrels and traffic slowdowns and everything. Is that going to be that's part of this one?
That's unfortunately part that goes with construction. You have a problem that needs to be fixed, and Bridge is one of the most congested corridors in the region.
Well, only between like 7 and 9 in the morning, and then like 4 to 6 or 7 p.m.
Well,
right?
but that's a significant part of the day, and for those people that are in the traffic, it's really
a nightmare.
bad.
Yeah. So you're expanding it to 6 lanes, 8 lanes?
No, we're not actually expanding the size of the road. What we're doing is converting the center left turn bay, which is continuous throughout the majority of that stretch, is we're going to be taking that out and putting in more left turn lanes and that sort of thing, because when you have a center left turn lane, that creates kind of a concern for the drivers that are going through traffic, because you've got people that are in that center turn.
Waiting to go. And,
yes, and
yeah.
we'll, by putting in the center left turn lanes, that helps with the traffic flow, because you don't have the people that are concerned about being in accidents because of that center left turn lane. So we're converting that into a more normal setup.
And that'll help traffic just go through there much more easily.
Yes.
How long is that project going to take?
Well, it's about a $25 million project, and it's going to take us probably 5 to 6 years before we're completely done.
Oh, wow.
The first phase, again, will be done probably in about 3 years, but by the time we get done completely, it'll be a handful of years. And
right.
yes, there's traffic that goes with the construction.
Right. But it'll all work out in the end, hopefully.
When we're done, it's going to be beautiful.
With stuff like the Paseo del Norte interchange, you guys at the county helped quite a bit with that, you know?
We provided $5 million of the 75 that was needed.
And that was one of those projects that while it was being done, we all hated it.
Yep.
But now that it's done, it's great, right?
Yes.
Right. So you just have to keep looking down the road and saying, this is what's going to happen. So what are some of the other major projects? And you've got swimming pool that's going to open soon too, right?
Well, we've been in a rehab of the Rio Grande Pool, which is at Rio Grande High School. County pool on the APS property.
Right.
And that's a picture of the pool just when we started renovations of it almost a year ago. We've now completed the renovations, and there'll be a grand opening coming up in early June.
Just in time for swimming season.
Yes.
I love that. And is the diving pool still there?
No, there's no diving pool anymore. We've reconverted it to competitive swimming lanes. As you can see on this photo, it's been set up so that it can be used for competitive events again.
Oh, that'll be great fun. Because I know that this Rio Grande does have a swimming team. Well, just briefly, we're got just maybe another few seconds here.
Sure.
But the Isleta project was one of those major projects that I know started probably, 2001, 2002?
Well, actually, that project probably started back in the 80s, but by the time we finally got the federal money that we could build it, we started construction in the early 2000s, and it took us through 2 phases, about 5 years to completely rebuild the section of Isleta from Bridge down to Rio Bravo.
And that now has become one of the greatest, easiest to travel roads. Traffic is great, and then there's a new park right there, and then South Valley Pride Day was right there, 2 weeks ago, I think?
Last weekend.
Yep. And, it's perfect, right?
Yes.
So we hope Bridge will be the same thing, just a little bit of time.
We hope so, and we hope it'll help revitalize the area because it needs a shot in the arm.
Because these things are economic development projects
Absolutely.
as much as they are road projects,
They are.
right? Awesome. Well, we'll be back in a couple of seconds on the Morning Brew with Friends. We've got a whole bunch more to talk about, especially with Kali Shah about his new CD and a whole lot more on the Morning Brew.